tell him about the time we faced him.
All right. Well, as I remember.
At Avenger headquarters.
Because united, the Avengers are strong.
Welcome to the MCU D&T Plus podcast with myself, Andy Stead.
And I'm JArian Gibson.
And I'm Alex Strout.
And we have got a special guest this week for you guys listening in. We've got our very special group member, Mark Rellaford. How you doing, Mark?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming in. And you're sort of a self-proclaimed expert on Marvel zombies, aren't you? That's what you were saying to me the other week. So that's ideal that we've got you on this week, because obviously later on in the show we're going to talk about the What If episode from this past Wednesday. So it'd be good to hear your thoughts about that.
Great.
Excellent. Good stuff. So week, what we're doing a little bit just to try and get some varied content in this week. We're still going to go through news and rumors, a slightly shortened version. We're going to add in a couple of other bits and hopefully spend a little bit of time talking about some different topics. So let's get stuck into it. We're going to go through a couple of news bits, aren't we, JArian? So over to you, mate. What we got?
Yeah, before I get in the news, though, we are changing the format a little bit. So we're probably going to pick the top 2 or 3 news items for the podcast, and then we'll start doing a separate news because a lot of news comes fast and furious. And so we're going to break things out a little bit. But for the 2 we picked this week, let's go with this one first. Elizabeth Debicki will return in Guardians of the Galaxy 3. If you're not familiar with who she is, because she was all spray painted in gold and in costume, she was Aisha of the Sovereign in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, who ended up creating him/Adam. So maybe a little bit of hint towards Adam Warlock being, further used now that he was hinted for the MCU.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see Adam Warlock. I think the more and more I read of him, the more and more interesting I find him.
Yep.
I think I read when I first started. When I first started reading, but when I first started seeing Adam Warlock, it was later on in his character development. So I never actually saw his beginnings, and then I've kind of gone back a little bit and looked at some of his beginnings and seen that side of him. And I think he could be a really interesting character. And I think if they pick the right actor to get that almost sort of infant confusion across at the beginning, but then developing into this sort of very astute kind of person, I think that could be a really interesting role. But yeah, I mean, and obviously his power set is great, and his confidence as he goes on in his own abilities and his commanding demeanor as well. I was only today. Yesterday, I think I'm not going to get too far into Funko Pops just yet because we'll talk about that later. But I was just saying, I think my favourite Funko that I've got is my 80-year Adam Warlock with the Infinity Gauntlet on it. It's literally ripped straight out the page of from Infinity War Gauntlet. Not sure which one
Probably
it's in. The first one.
I think Infinity Gauntlet. I think.
Yeah, it's Gauntlet. It's the first one, and he's standing there with a gauntlet. And when he first wears it, he just this sense of, I don't know, just confidence in what he's doing. Like, I'll take it. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see what role he plays too, because Adam Warlock is really not a hero or a villain or anti-hero. Adam Warlock is more for him. And that's what, he's kind of called him.
Yeah.
And for those of you who don't know who Adam Warlock is, in the Infinity Gauntlet comics, he pretty much was the role of, I would say, Carol Danvers in Endgame, maybe. They kind of switched that role out a little bit for Captain Marvel and Endgame. Also, too, he was the one who actually at one point turned the stones into living entities as well. So it'd be interesting to see what kind of role that he plays. Now since the stones are already freed, where'd they go? And will he be a living embodiment of one of the stones possibly? Or, what's going to happen with him?
It'd be interesting to see him kind of like come into the MCU kind of like how Vision did, kind of innocent, you know what I'm saying? And tied to like a stone, maybe just like Vision. You never know, but yeah.
Yeah, I really liked how Vision came into the MCU. That sort of like what you were saying, JArian. Adam Warlock's not good. He's not bad. He's just
there.
He's just,
Yeah.
he's just, isn't he? That's it. He's just, and I quite like that. We've seen that in Vision, isn't he? He's like, I can't remember what did Vision say. What was his words when he said, "I'm not Vision, I'm not Jarvis," or no, I'm not Ultron, I'm not Jarvis, I'm something else entirely. And
he's
he's
like, I'm on the side of life. Ultron is not. So yeah.
So that would put me on your side, sort of thing. Yeah, that's it exactly. Like he would go against the Avengers if that's what the right thing should, is. So I think if we can get a hint of that in Adam Warlock, that'd be interesting. But yeah, I mean, just bringing back. I must admit, I'm not like the news of Debicki coming back as the Sovereign. It's like it excites me for that reason, probably, and probably for no other reason. I mean, maybe I should be excited that she's coming back and that we're getting the Sovereign back and all the gold people, but that didn't really excite me too much. But to think that we could be getting an Adam Warlock appearance is huge.
I can almost see him as kind of an enemy of the Guardians to start with. Maybe the way him being created by the Sovereign kind of controlling him at first, but then towards the end, he's not really a friend or foe. Again, he's just there.
Yeah, unless they add in Magus.
Yeah.
And then everyone's screwed.
So coming in, Mark. So because we know not everybody that listens to our show is well
true.
up on the comics. So coming in, who's the Magus?
So from the comics I've read, I've read after Infinity Gauntlet and stuff, and so I didn't know Adam until I read the Annihilation comics.
Right. Yeah,
and he comes in and he's got like this old past with this Magus character, which is this dark entity, kind of half of him, and the Magus ends up coming out at one point and just tearing the Guardians apart.
Yes.
So he's basically kind of the anti-Adam Warlock.
Yeah, and they have to use a cosmic cube to stop him.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I can almost.
Alex, you was going to say.
Yeah,
Alex was going to jump in and say something, but what was you going to say, Alex?
Oh, I was just going to say I was just going to mention something briefly about Vision, but I don't remember what it was. But I will say that this kind of reminds me of a little bit what Mark's talking about, like the Sentry and the Void. You know what I'm talking about? Like it's kind of like a very similar kind of concept to that.
Yeah, we've seen it quite a few times. I mean, this might be blasphemy, I don't know, but Jean Grey and Dark Phoenix, it's almost a similar sort of this multiple or split personality or a different side of you or a future version or an alternate version. And it's that conflict between the sort of light and the dark within the same character. We've seen it a few times in the MCU and in other Marvel projects and in lots of other projects as well.
And maybe he starts off as Magus and then turns into a good Adam Warlock as well.
Yeah.
JArian, do you know what come up today? Somebody had commented from something that me and you were talking about ages ago about the reverse Uncle Ben.
Oh,
so we were saying, weren't we? I think it was about pulling a reverse Uncle Ben, as in we don't need to see Spider-Man's origin again. And I think when we was talking about it on the group, we was talking about the X-Men, and I said I think they should just pull a reverse Uncle Ben where they just chuck them in wholesale, and then we called it a rub. the reverse like, Uncle Ben.
It's like Ron Burgundy in the news team when he calls and he's like, "We've been here the whole time." You know, like you should just show up. We've been here the whole time. You guys just didn't notice us. You know, type of thing.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So I mean, I think that'd be really interesting to say. So go on in. Just before we move on from this piece, give us your people you think should play Adam Warlock. Your actor.
I like Alexander Skarsgård.
Okay, cool. Any other suggestions, Mark, Alex?
I like Skarsgård. I think Skarsgård would be good as well.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's got to be somebody kind of tall, kind of like menacing, and
I've
liked. Yeah.
What about? And I'm terrible with names. I'm terrible, but Nicolaj Waldo, the guy that played Jaime Lannister in Game of Thrones.
Ooh.
Yeah. He could be fun.
Yeah, that look. I just see that look in his face, that kind of serious, calculated look in his face with that kind of bit of golden hair, and I think that could work.
And he can do the personality too.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm not sure on the height, but did you see Barb's post about the actor who played Pennywise in the recent It movies?
Oh, Bill Skarsgård.
Was that Bill Skarsgård?
Is that another Skarsgård?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
He looked like a very good villain though. In that picture, that side by side there, I was like, I had no idea, and I think he should be a villain in the MCU, and maybe this is the role for him. I'm not sure on his height, but if he's the brother, probably tall, just like the other one. So
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I also kind of see somebody maybe like Jared Padalecki kind of playing that, because he kind of looks like it to me. But then at the same time, I don't think he has like maybe the best acting ability for that role. You know what I'm saying? Like, it may not be his cup of tea. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I got one for you, Andy. Your fan cast pick for Logan Wolverine. There was a lot of rumors, or not rumors, but a lot of people putting that out there for a while that Zac Efron should play Adam Warlock too as well. I don't see it, but I could see it, but I don't think he's tall enough.
I was just about to say I don't think he's tall enough. And I'll tell you what, if Rob's listening, Rob Bush is listening, he kept back, and I'm just going back onto the Wolverine now. He keeps banging on about Daniel Radcliffe playing Wolverine, right? And
really?
Yeah. But obviously, in my mind, I've only got Daniel Radcliffe as Harry Potter.
Yeah, I don't see it.
And I still don't see it. However, I'm not saying he should. I still, please, if anybody knows Zac Efron, make him play Wolverine. Like, he's got to do it. but I watched Escape from Pretoria the other day, which has got Daniel Radcliffe in it. It's about an escape from Pretoria prison in South Africa. It's very good. It's based on a true story, and it's really cool actually. But anyway, obviously he's now a bit more grown up, and he's in prison, so he's a little bit shaggier and a little bit rougher around the edges. And I don't know. I might be swayed, but anyway. So yeah, there we go. I mean, let's keep our fingers crossed that we will see some sort of version of Adam Warlock in the next couple of years, eh?
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see if they include the Infinity Stones, if they come back, because obviously we know that Infinity Stones played a big part in Adam Warlock's history in the source material. So that'd be really cool to see that.
And they're not gone; they're just not stones anymore. They just moved on to something else, so they're out there.
Yep, absolutely. Wicked. Go on and JArian. So this next piece is another good one. I know we was talking about it before we came on air. So
yeah. So Marvel Studios has posted 4 2024 release dates for movies. February 16th, 2024, May 3rd, 2024, July 26th, 2024, and November 8th, 2024. And I've got a couple of guesses what this could be.
Go on in. Let's go, because so have I.
Okay, so I'm going to say that November 8th, 2024, it could be Blade.
Okay.
Just around Halloween time, it might make sense.
Mm-hmm.
July 26th, I'm going to say that's probably going to be Deadpool.
Yeah, I reckon you're right with that.
May 3rd, I'm going to say it's going to be Fantastic Four.
Ooh.
And February 16th, I'm going to say Captain America 4. Serpent Society. No, I'm just kidding.
That was hilarious, that whole situation. If I tell you what, if anybody that's listening hasn't seen, now when was that? That was the phase 3 announcement, wasn't it?
Yeah, it ended up being before Civil War. If anybody that's listening or watching hasn't seen that, go back and find it on YouTube. It's like the phase 3 Marvel lineup announcement. And they announced that the first movie in phase 3 would be Captain America. The third Captain America would be Captain America Serpent Society. And everyone cheered, didn't they? Do you remember seeing that video? Everyone was like, yeah, what? Yeah. It's an interesting storyline though, but it
was a bit odd, wasn't it? And then they changed it at the end, didn't they? They released the whole thing, and then they went, "Oh, actually, no, we was pulling your chain, and it's actually Civil War." So, anyway, going back to the dates, I reckon Blade might be coming in 2023. I reckon we might get that earlier, and I also think we might. I think we're going to get Fantastic Four in 2023 as well, because from my little dates thing, we've got 2 movies in 2023 that haven't, 2 dates that haven't got a movie. October 6th, 23, and November the 10th, 23. And I'm going with, for the same reason you said Blade in October for 24, I'm going to bring it to say 23. Because what else are they going to put in there? And I don't understand I don't really know what else they're going to put in there. And then we have Quantum Mania in 23 at the beginning. Could we be maybe teased with a Fantastic Four, and then we're going to get them at the end of 23? So I don't know about, I think maybe there, and we might end up with two different projects that we don't know anything about. I'll make you right on the Captain America one, and I'll make you right on the Deadpool one as well. I reckon the Deadpool will be a summer. That would be the big summer one that they want everyone to go and see. But the second two, I don't know. I reckon we might be getting something different.
Yeah, the only question about Blade, though, is they just got the director confirmed, and they haven't really gone through a script. So I could see Blade getting pushed out, but I could see Deadpool coming earlier. Because Deadpool, they're already working on the script. Ryan Reynolds is already there. They've already moved forward with that project. So maybe Deadpool gets 2023 release dates.
Yeah.
And then maybe we get something like, let me see, in 2024, maybe a Shang-Chi 2 already. You know? Or maybe to expand that story with other Shang-Chi characters that tie together, possibly.
What else do we think then? What else have we got? Alex, Mark, what your guesses at what movies could be coming out in 24?
I would hope for an X-Men, but I don't think that may be one of them. But I would hope, for some type of X-Men related movie, in some way. But I don't know.
Okay.
I don't really know.
Mark?
Well, there was a rumor. I know that Raymark posted it a little while back with like some of the TV show projects that were named, and one of them was Nova, and I would love to see Nova on the big screen, especially if we get a show with him in it, and then or even if the movie introduces him, that kind of thing, and so we get to see a bigger villain, bigger just more with him, because he's a very cool character.
The destruction of Xander, finally, what happened with Xander?
Yeah, exactly.
Flashback. So I'm sure if at Nova they'll do that as part of an intro for Nova, because you're going to see how he got his powers, and the destruction of Xander is going to tie big into that. So hopefully we see that.
So how awesome would that be, right? Because at the moment, if some of these characters they're creating, so as an origin story, the origin story is playing out within the origin movie. Bear with me, because you're probably going to not understand what I'm saying. You might understand it at the end, but their beginnings plays out in that movie. Yeah. So we get a flashback in that movie to something that has happened, and it's still happening in that movie. Do you know what I mean? Yes, it's happened before that in time, but it's still, for us, it still happens in that movie. Wouldn't it be cool if someone's origin story came from something that we've already seen, but like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years ago, and we've already seen it in another movie, and now they're just sort of showing you the flashback in the origin movie. So in a Nova origin movie, they show you the flashback to the movie that we've already seen. It's like it would be like we've all seen Shang-Chi now, so it would be like showing that fight right at the beginning when when Wenwu takes down that castle or something like that. It would be like having that as a movie 10 years ago. Yep. Do you see what I mean?
Yep, exactly.
And how cool is that? Like the MCU, Marvel Studios, has built up this history where it itself can supply the origin story for future stories, rather than having to just purely rely on saying, "Oh, well, this happened sometime long ago." Like, actually, this happened, and you can check out the movie when it happened. I think that's really cool.
One other thing that comes to mind too is that we got the news that they're trying to get the rights for Secret Wars. What if Secret Wars is one of those movies?
I watched that interview that you sent me, the Collider interview with Kevin Feige, which I was really disappointed about. But I kind of like, so if anybody's listening and they've seen or they haven't seen the Collider interview with Kevin Feige, the questions that the guy asked, I was like, mate, if I had Kevin Feige in front of me, I'd ask him so many better questions than that. They were rubbish. Like, what would you expect him to say? Oh, yeah, we're working on this, and this is going to come out on this date, and we really don't like this. Like he asked him questions that were so obviously going to get shut down. And then it made me think, well, maybe they were the only questions that Marvel would allow him to ask.
because NDAs, approval, and that kind of stuff. So
exactly, and we know that. And I won't mention any names or anything like this, but I know that I've spoken to a friend of Mark's who has worked on What If, and that person said to me, look, you know, I can't really say anything. I can't really talk about anything without it going through the right channels.
Yep.
And they were very much like, look, I don't want to jeopardize anything. And I was like, no, of course, like, please don't. That's ridiculous. But it just goes to show, you know, we're just, and I say just, I mean, awesome, but we are just talking about an artist on an animated show, not Kevin Feige. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So you can imagine what he can and can't say. So anyway, point is that the guy did say to him, when is the next sort of big team up going to happen? And I think Feige said they're thinking about it already. Like it's in their minds. So JArian, you could be right. I mean, everything does look like it's pointing that way, doesn't it? To the Secret Wars thing. So could that be our what dates did you say that could that be the summer one, maybe? The big
probably
blockbuster
July or May.
Yeah. The big blockbuster July one, maybe. I don't know.
And also too, Feige has hinted that there's another Avengers movie coming at some point. We just don't know when. So
I'm curious. I've read the second. Wow, I just blanked on what the name of the
Secret Wars
series was.
Secret
Wars. Thank you. Wow. I read the second one with God Doom, but I haven't read the first one, so I didn't know what happens in the first one. Does the second one lead off of that?
No, not really. You've got there's three things. There's Secret War, Secret Wars, and Secret War again. Is that right? Or when does the plural happen? I'm not sure.
Yeah,
it's There's three stories. So you've got the first one that came out, the original. I can't remember whether it's Secret Wars or Secret War. That's when they go to Battleworld.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's when they're all taken to Battleworld by the Beyonder.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. And they all fight each other. And that's where we get Tatiana, where she's made, isn't it? Or Titiana, which way round is it?
Yeah.
Again, I'm not sure. The comic geniuses will shoot me down for getting that wrong. But
Titania?
Yeah, Titania.
Yeah, Titania. Yeah. So that happens there. Yeah. Then there's the other one, which the Secret War or Wars, which is about the techno villains, isn't it? Where doesn't Fury lead a group of sort of clandestine black ops into Latveria to try and take it down, and they mess it up, and then they come back. Yeah. So that's the one that's a different name. And then there's the next one, the latest one, which is about the crossovers of all the universes, isn't it?
The multiverse wars
with God Doom.
Yep.
Yeah, where Doom rips out Thanos's spine. So that's the one you've read, Mark.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's that's quite confusing, because that is like JArian said, that's all the multiverses, which is what we're saying is probably where this is going to go.
I can almost see though they probably do a combo of the first and the third with the multiverses, because we have Kang now, we have the whole thing with Loki, all that kind of stuff. But I also just want to see Beyonder in the MCU. So
didn't Doom create Nowhere too? Didn't he kill that Celestial in
one of the stories he did? Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
God Doom did.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. I didn't know that.
Yep.
dang.
Mark's just like that. Oh, okay. I think people just don't realize how powerful Doom has been at different points in time during the Marvel comics. But yeah, so we could end up with a Secret War at some point. I think it's a safe bet to say that Captain America 4 will be in 2024.
Yep.
I think that kind of makes sense. It's not going to be. It's not in 2020. Well, unless it's going to be one of those dates in 2023 in October or November.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then I think it's a safe bet to say that's 2024. I think we're going to get a team up, so it could be Secret War, and then where else they're going to go after? There's obviously a couple of unannounced projects that they're going to bring in
based on the production company names. Yep, those are out there still.
When
And
have we-
Rider.
yeah, Midnight Suns, Ghost Rider, Werewolf by Night. All those ones are out there. What was it? Secret Warriors was it not? Secret Warriors was another one out there. Nova was one.
Was Midnight Suns announced?
It wasn't announced, but it's been rumored with the production company names. And then they did say that Werewolf by Night is coming in some form, whether it's a Halloween special or its own series. I don't know yet. But that was one of the ones out there. And there was one more. I'm going blank on it. But a couple were kind of hinted at when those announcements came out for all those production companies. The other thing, too, is also we probably will have more insight on the movies versus the series. Because remember, Disney has that big thing in November where they're probably going to announce their next slate of things. So we'll probably have a good idea, if not then, or not before then, November, when they have that the whole show about their upcoming projects. Yeah, for sure.
Excellent. Good. So, I mean, two decent pieces of news there that we could really get stuck into. So hopefully the way that we've sort of chosen those two pieces, they're two sort of opposing pieces, giving us different conversations. So hopefully the guys can appreciate us getting a little bit more into detail about those pieces of news. And I think that by just stripping a couple of pieces and then really being able to break them down, it's allowed us to go into more detail without worrying about running on for too long. Yeah. Cool. So on that note, I think this is actually quite a nice time to bring in the post that I'd like to talk about. I wonder whether JArian knows. It's just when I say it, go, I thought you might say that one. So this is by, and I'm really sorry if I'm going to, again, we're terrible with names on here. We really must get some sort of name thing going on. I don't know. It's Anubab Makharaji. Yeah, I'm really sorry if I've pronounced your name wrong. But his post was this. This might sound crazy, but does anybody else feel a bit overstuffed with MCU content we're getting? Previously, it used to be 2 or 3 movies per year. That was obviously way less, and we wanted more. But now we are getting 4 or 5 movies, as well as the same number of shows each year. So with 8 to 10 MCU projects every year, there will be projects for which we won't even get time to get hyped about. In some cases, movies are coming out while a show is still going on. I just feel that when you take something rare and invaluable like the MCU and turn it into something common, it loses its value a bit. Maybe not now, but down the line, I believe it will. I just hope they don't ruin it like they've ruined the Western genre, all because of money. I'm not quite so certain about the last sentence. I don't know the history of what happened with Westerns, to be totally honest. But I think the content of that post, the essence of that post is, is too much of a good thing a bad thing? Are we getting too much Marvel content, or is it okay at the moment? Will we run out of steam with it? I mean, we're literally at the moment, we're talking, like he says, 4 or 5 movies, 4 or 5 Disney Plus projects. We're pretty much not getting a week in a year. I think we've had about 3 weeks this year with nothing new. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love it. I personally, I love it. And I think a lot of people do, but I can see his point in a way. And I think for us here, and probably for everybody listening, the answer is probably no. But what about your sort of general moviegoer, somebody who's not a really sort of deep comic book, Marvel, action movie fan?
Well, two things here. One, there's so much source material they can pull from, where if they did dial it back a little bit, they could prolong it out. But there's so much source material, I don't think they run out for a while, as long as they're doing the right things and learn from mistakes like nerfing villains or leaving threads open, that type of thing. I think we'll be all right. The other thing too is that Marvel Studios is kind of in a unique position because they have Disney Plus, their own platform to release these shows on. to where they can interconnect them into the movies. So it's a very unique thing to where you look at Sony, or even some of the DC stuff. Yes, they have Warner Brothers and that kind of stuff, but it's Disney. It's all Disney. It's all Marvel. It's all Marvel Studios. So it's a unique position in the market right now.
Yeah. Oh, I was just gonna say, I think it's the whole like hero's journey thing. Like everybody loves going and seeing a hero's journey play out on screen, like a good versus evil story. I don't think it's ever gonna really go downhill because I mean, there's all of us fans that love that kind of stuff, that we go to see the good fight the bad and the good prevail. So it's one of those things where I think the stories might change, but they have to stay fresh. So like I would love to see like things like people like Doom, like say maybe Doom get a movie or something like that. Like we would love to see that. But you can see Doom slide into more of a more heroic role, I guess. But even though he's really like a villain, you know what I'm saying? He's kind of like an anti-villain kind of type character. But I think like the stories might change, but I don't think they'll ever really go away.
I really like that point, Alex, actually, that in essence, that we as human beings want to see that good versus evil story play out. So, not that it doesn't matter. I think it does matter who the characters are, but when their characters steeped in so much history, it probably gives us more reason to go and watch them and buy into them. But yeah, I think actually, like I say, the essence of that good versus evil will always be an attraction, won't it? Mm-hmm. I tell you what, there was so Nick Bauer made a comment which I did agree with though, and I'm paraphrasing him here a little bit, but he was saying it would be a shame to not have. So let's say, for example, this does go on for another 30 years. It would be a shame to not have some of these big characters that we've only seen for the last 10 years continue to be a part of it for the next 30 years. So, as we know in the comics, Steve Rogers and Tony Stark and T'Challa have all been around. They're still, in different forms, but, they've been around for nearly 100 years or 60 years or however long, So it would be a shame to never see them again now. So what the answer is there, I don't know. Is it recast? Is it bring back? Is it do something different? I don't know. But I think on that side of things, it would be interesting to see how Marvel Studios cope with that, whether they just keep moving forward and don't worry about what's happened, or I don't know. But Mark, what are your thoughts on that?
So I agree that, well, as for fans of the genre, that we will likely never get old of it. But as people that are casual fans or just are going to the movies to go see a good movie, I'm sure that I know people that are there's so many movies that have come out and they haven't caught up on them, and especially when they're introducing characters that aren't the main roster anymore and aren't the ones that everybody knows, that these people might not be as interested anymore. Like, I know my wife has no desire to see the Eternals. And I'm like, that's okay. I'm like, some people are like, we all have our own opinions, but for me, I will likely never get old.
Yeah, and I think you're not in the minority there in regards to, like we said, people that are like us four, and pretty much everybody that's listening or watching is probably all feeling exactly the same. But like you said, you're sort of quote unquote casual viewer, just your movie goer. Are they going to go, oh God, it's another superhero movie? I don't want to see it. But actually, having said that, will they even be able to identify that it's a superhero movie in 20 years' time? Will they look totally different? Who knows?
Yeah.
The one thing too, I like to see them embrace more of the bad guys winning. And prime example was Infinity War. I loved how that ended. I want to see more villain focus, more villains winning type movies. There's one way they can go. And to Mark's comment about some of the more obscure, less popular characters, I think they're doing that now because they have the hot hand now. But I could see at some point, like you said, characters like T'Challa or Steve Rogers or Tony Stark, it's just like in the comics at some time doing a reboot, and changing some different stories. Like for example, we'll see Tony Stark, in the Mandarin more, maybe possible in the future where we don't have that now. We got a taste of it, but it never happened and it never came on screen. So maybe something like that. Maybe we'll see a Serpent Society, type of thing. Even with T'Challa, maybe we'll see him, the Fantastic Four and Wakanda, and them standing in front of the throne with T'Challa in Wakanda. So there's all these ways that they could possibly do it. And at some point, they're going to have to come to some kind of crossroads with that.
And one thing that I've really enjoyed about this phase for Marvel is that it's not just like the origin stories necessarily. It's that yes, there is origins, but each project isn't just a superhero movie. It's like Loki was, I remember it was advertised as a kind of a murder mystery. And Moon Knight was more advertised as like an Indiana Jones kind of thing. Black Widow felt like a Bond movie to me. And so it's like it's got characters from the Marvel universe. It's about said characters, but it doesn't necessarily feel like a Marvel movie or like a superhero movie.
There's almost genres within the genre.
Yep.
Yeah. Sub-genres, yeah.
Yeah,
that's
which
a good
I
point
think
too.
it is a good point. And I think that's probably what will aid its longevity. The fact that you can go and watch a Marvel movie, but it doesn't mean they're all going to be the same. Like you said, you can go and watch a Black Widow or a Winter Soldier, and it's an espionage spy Bond-esque type movie, or you can go and watch The Eternals, which is like a space opera, or a drama, or you can go and watch the Guardians of the Galaxy, which is like a comedy with aliens and such. Do you know what I mean? So you can find different styles of movie within the Marvel brackets. So so with that in mind, probably won't get bored of it. I mean, I certainly am not yet. Not even close. It's just we're going up and up and up, aren't we? So it's but it's an interesting conversation to have, because it definitely then sparks questions like what JArian was almost getting to a moment ago about any reboot that could happen at any stage. Maybe not necessarily rebooting the universe, but rebooting a character or rebooting a certain storyline. And obviously with the multiverse, like Jason always says, they've made it so they'll never write themselves into a corner.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Cruise, Tony Stark. No, I'm just kidding.
I was just going to say they could always have some sort of big event that resets everything, like one of those, like it just wipes the board and they start all over again, and that could be how they do something like that.
They do it in the comics all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do. We've spoken about one of those already. Secret War does that.
Mm-hmm.
Secret Invasion does that a little bit. So there are events that happen that does happen in. So there's no reason why they can't draw from the source material and do that again. But like I said, I just thought it was a really interesting question. It sparked some good debate on the page. So that was a good one. And the other one that I was going to bring up was our lovely Jackie. Just pops in every now and again, and then just busts in like a post that just gets more reacts and more engagement than any of us put together. So what did she put on the other day? What did she put on the other day was give us one line from a Marvel movie that everybody will know. Did you all reply to it? I can't remember whether you'd all.
I did not.
What did you say, JArian? What was your line?
Oh, I'm getting that, or something like that, or Somehow it was Rocket Raccoon about getting.
Oh,
the
yeah,
arm.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. How
Oh,
much is that?
Yeah, how much is that? Yeah, that's what
That's
it was.
it. Yeah. There's been so many beautiful little, sentences that have been said in the MCU. I quite like the opposite to what Jackie was asking for. Actually, she was asking for a line that everybody would know.
Yeah,
and
Yeah.
I quite like the opposite of that. A line that you'd go, "Where's that from?" And then when somebody says it's from a Marvel movie, you'll be like, "Oh, I didn't realize that was from a Marvel movie."
Yeah.
There's been loads of instances that you can draw from, but I find some of the sort of more serious moments, you wouldn't expect them. You wouldn't expect those lines and those words to be coming from people. Anytime Frigga speaks is one of them.
yep.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Anytime she speaks, I've always found, not necessarily Russo, Rene Russo, isn't it?
Yep.
The actress that plays it. Yeah, I've not necessarily found her as an actress like that, but when she's in Frigga's role, I think it's just you can't help but she's almost like she's my mum in that moment.
Yep.
Mhm.
So anytime she speaks, you just listen, don't you? And especially anytime she speaks to Thor or Loki, she's just got this way of speaking that it could have been taken from any movie, from anything.
She seems like she's got a really empathetic dialogue about her, like when she converses with characters and things like that. It always seems to be very empathetic, I guess.
Yeah, she's very understanding, isn't she? She's very in contrast to Odin. Odin's this kind of you will do this, and Frigga's like, hold on a minute. So Odin, in coaching, so I coach football / soccer. Yeah. And so what we say is you've got to understand whether a player needs an arm around the shoulder, a theoretical arm around the shoulder, or a kick up the bum. And Odin's the kick up the bum, and Frigga is the arm around the shoulder.
That's a good way to put it. I like that.
But yeah, so just based on lines and cool lines within movies, there are hundreds on Jackie's post. There's hundreds, but like I said, I quite like the flip side to that and trying to look at moments where you wouldn't expect them to come from a Marvel movie. And I just picked out pretty much anything that Frigga's ever said. I just really like it.
I started to comment on that thread and do the boom, you looking for this one. And I was like, everybody's going to know where that comes from. So.
Yes.
It's that's a cool line. And what does he drop? He drops a tank.
Yep.
Mhm.
We know he drops a tank. Yeah, cool. Okay, so before we got what if to talk about, and I know Mark's desperate to talk about some zombie stuff. But before we get into that, just want to go to something we tried to start a few weeks ago, and we're going to hopefully keep going. What have we been up to in regards to Marvel, other than thinking about the MCU or watching an MCU movie or TV show? So I'm going to start with Alex, because I know Alex has fueled his addiction again this week.
Yeah, so I basically went out and I bought a bunch of Funkos this week, but it was so funny. 3 days before I got the last what if Funko I needed for my little collection, the Doctor Strange one, I was looking online and I was like, I wonder if they're coming out with any zombie Funkos. Never saw them, and then I think you tagged me in something, Andy, and it was literally the day after I got my Doctor Strange Funko from What If, and I was like, oh no, now I've got to buy more. And so I instantly went online and pre-ordered the Iron Man zombie one right off the bat. So
because I think there's 6 of them, isn't there? There's Spider-Man with the cloak, with his mask and without his mask. Mm-hmm. Then there's the Iron Man zombie. Then there's a Falcon zombie, a Strange zombie, and a Cap zombie, and
a Scarlet Witch. And then there's also there's also a jumbo Iron Man too. So it'll be a bigger one, like a actual big one. So maybe 10 inches or so. So
they should have done that one for Wasp.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
that would have been cool.
remind me when we start talking about What If later, about Wasp and about that moment. I've got a bit of a excuse the pun. I've got a bit of a bee in my bonnet about that bit, but we'll talk about that in a minute. So I also fueled my Funko addiction. I bought a Death Dealer, and I haven't got it with me to show, but I was almost going to say she. I felt like it was a female in the movie. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. We don't know. But anyway, it's really cool. Really, it's probably one of my favorite ones now. It looks great on the shelf next to Shang-Chi or Shang-Chi.
It looks exactly like the character in the movie too. Like
It
that
does.
Funko does. Like
They've stepped
spot
up their
on.
game. Yeah, Funko have stepped up their game to add detail to their characters. I also saw a Great Protector. Got a big Great Protector. I was like, oh, I can't do that. I can't get too many. It'd be silly. But yeah. So, and I know you bought a bunch of others, didn't you, Alex, as well? Other non-Marvel related ones.
Yeah, I bought it like Polka Dot Man. I bought like a Harley Quinn one. I got the black suit Superman from the Snyder Cut, but I also bought like what was the other one I bought? I bought another. Oh, I bought like Wolverine, like the Marvel, like the actual, not like Wolverine from like anything, more of like the like X-Men movies Wolverine, you know, wearing the black and yellow outfit with it's like the all black suit with like the yellow accents and stuff. But yeah, I was just in a store on that one and I just saw him and I was like, I've not seen this Wolverine before, and it looks like it's going to come home with me today. So
Nice, excellent. So more Funkos to your collection then, Alex.
yeah,
Excellent. Well, I've been reading. I dabbled in it and I'd read about it, but never actually sat down and read it. But I've read Beta Ray Bill's
Nice.
origin story into the Marvel universe. So I've really been enjoying that actually. I haven't read so much to the later part of this week, but I've read the beginnings of that. And again, I knew little bits and pieces about Beta Ray Bill, but not what I know now. And what a great character, and what a great origin. I absolutely loved his origin, and I loved the acceptance that Asgard eventually showed him. And obviously where Stormbreaker in the comics came from was made for Bill.
Mm-hmm.
I love the whole Lady Sif going to fight the trolls, and if she lost, she had to stay with them. If she won, they had to make Stormbreaker for Bill. But really cool origin story. Actually, I really enjoyed that, and I really liked how humble everybody was. It was all, but also while being competitive and combative as well at the same time. They were very honourable. It was really good to see that sort of honour between sort of Odin, Beta Ray Bill, Thor, Sif, the trolls. Like everybody was. It was just a really nice kind of. I don't know. I really enjoyed it. It was like, oh, cool. You're all really good guys.
Also, a good episode of it's either Avengers Assemble or Earth's Mightiest Heroes.
It's Earth's Mightiest Heroes.
Yeah, where the Beta Ray Bill episode, it's kind of along the same lines of the comic storyline. So it's actually a pretty good representation of that story.
Nice.
Yeah,
You
instead
said
of giants, it's Surtur's minions.
Yep.
right.
But
You've said before, haven't you, JArian, about those cartoons?
Yep,
being
they're
really good.
usually good ones. Yeah, and they also had to go to the trolls again to get in the Bill Stormbreaker. And the whole key was meet Mjolnir to kind of get them to trust him at first. So it was interesting. So a lot of good stuff in that series.
Yeah, I think we've said because we know that a lot of people that are on our group and obviously listening and just generally speaking, just a lot of people that are MCU fans are not necessarily comic readers and haven't been. But if you want to get a taste of where these stories are being sourced from, but there's 60 years of comics to read. If you haven't got 60 years to read some comics, catch up on Avengers Assemble, Earth's Mightiest Heroes cartoons on Disney Plus, and that really is a great little introduction. They're very true, aren't they, to the comic origins. and obviously done in the cartoon style as well. You do get that same feel on a lot of the episodes. So yeah, get on them if you haven't, while we're talking about non-MCU content. Mark, what have you been doing? You've been reading anything or buying anything?
By the way, I like your shirt, Mark. Before you go ahead, I like your shirt.
Thank you. I have been watching Earth's Mightiest Heroes, thanks to JArian. Always telling everyone to watch it. I'm like, okay, I gotta watch it. And I watched the Beta Ray Bill episode this week.
Oh,
and
cool.
then I heard you mention about you reading that on the last podcast. I was like, hey, I know the story.
Perfect example. That couldn't have gone any better, could it? That's brilliant. It's almost like we rehearsed it. We really didn't.
Yeah. I have been, I don't spend as much money as Alex does on his Funkos, but
nobody does. Nobody does. JArian used to, but he
Not
doesn't
anymore. Yeah, it's all gone to Legos.
Yeah.
We'll get to you in a minute. Don't worry. Carry on, Mark.
I just bought a new expansion for my Marvel Legendary game. It's a deck builder game, and so you can choose a slew of different characters to fight against the Mastermind and his henchmen and stuff, and it's a super fun game. Kind of hard to get into because it's a tough deck builder game to explain, but it's really a blast. But on top of that, I started rewatching Daredevil on Netflix the other day, and seriously blown away by Charlie Cox. He is absolutely fantastic, and I didn't realize how, or I guess I've forgotten how in depth Daredevil's powers are. That he can hear the sound of a bone, when the nurse, when she is breathing in, he's like, oh, I can hear the fracture. You're just like, what?
Yeah,
insane.
Cool. Yeah, that is excellent. That series, that really is excellent.
Yeah,
everything about that. I mean, how that was cancelled, I don't know. I mean, it just kept getting better and better. I mean, the first season was great, the second season was great, the third season was great, and that's so rare.
Yeah,
so rare.
Bullseye was such a good villain too in that later season. You know, like it was such a perfect square off for Daredevil, like a 1v1 for somebody like him.
Elektra was great too.
Yeah,
Elektra was cool. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's it really is excellent. You know, I think around the time I was on my second rewatch of when that first came out, I was on my second rewatch of my first rewatch of The Wire, and I was flicking back and forward to one to the other. So I was watching The Wire on my commute, and I was watching Daredevil at home, and I was like, they could be the same thing. Like they could be the same they could be happening simultaneously in the same universe, and of the same quality. That's how good Daredevil was. I was recommending Daredevil to people who I knew didn't even watch Marvel movies or superhero movies, who I knew watched programs like The Wire. I was like, watch this. Yes, okay, fine. It says Marvel. Don't worry about that. Just watch it. It's really, really good.
Yeah.
So, good. Excellent. Where are you up to then, Mark?
I'm like 4 episodes into the first season.
Is it the fourth one where he goes and he has that fight in the
That's
hallway?
In the 3rd episode, I believe. Yeah.
Where he goes to get the kid back.
Yeah.
Yep. That is
such a great fight scene.
If they don't bring that into a Daredevil movie, I'm going to be disappointed.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that's up there for me with things like The Raid. You know, watching that fight scene.
Yeah,
superb, absolutely superb. And also probably one of the best bits of Rogue One when Darth Vader comes in and
Oh yes,
flashes him.
most gangster Darth Vader scene ever.
Yeah, because you always knew that he was awesome, and it was like, but I've never actually seen you be really, really awesome. And then there you go. Now you have, you know. Yeah, that was cool. Okay, cool, wicked, nice, Mark. JArian, have you bought any more Lego?
I did pre-order the Marvel Advent Calendar, so I did pre-order that, and I happened to also find a complete set of the 12 minifigures based on the Marvel shows, the Disney Plus shows.
Okay,
So
I got those too.
Yeah, so I was gonna go searching for them, you know, and trying to feel the bags and figure it out, but I was just like, all that trouble that had to resell them. Like, I just found a complete set on eBay and paid for it. So
there's JArian in the store with a big torch holding it up to the bag, trying to look at the bag. What's in this one? Nice.
And then I'm waiting for the big day though, because October 1st is the big Lego day, because that's when all the No Way Home and Eternal sets are available to order. Right. So
Sweet.
That's the big day, because that's like
Nice.
7 or 8 sets right there.
Wow.
So when so we've got Legoland just the other side of London to where I am.
Oh, sweet.
And they've got in their hotel, they've got a wall which is huge. It's just a huge wall, and the whole wall is Lego like bubbles.
Yep.
And then on the wall, they've got practically every minifigure that's ever been released. Hundreds of thousands of minifigures just on the wall behind the reception, and it's amazing because you're standing there trying to check in to the hotel, and you go, oh look, there's Raphael, and oh, look, there's Gandalf, and there's, you know, a race car driver, and there's this. But I was thinking you could have just a whole wall in your house where you just put all your little minifigures.
I think people do that. They made pictures frames out of them and displays. Yeah, your Legoland there sounds a lot better than the one here, because ours is a smaller one. It's okay, but it's nothing like that. So
yeah, we've got a big there's a big Hulkbuster as well made out of Lego.
nice.
And next time I go to the shopping centre near me, just down the road, there's a Hamleys, which is a toy shop.
Yeah.
And in the toy shop, I'll have to take a picture. There's a big stormtrooper, like full size 6 foot, 7 foot stormtrooper, and 7 foot Darth Vader made of Lego.
Nice. The
Wow.
Mall of
Awesome.
America here in Minneapolis. So we have the big Mall of America there, the huge mall. The Lego store there used to have a huge life-size Voltron at a Legos there in the store. It was like huge, like 12 feet tall.
Oh.
Yeah.
Nice,
Oh.
nice. Okay, wicked. So more Lego, more Funkos, and more Daredevil. I like it. Okay, so let's move on to talking about what Mark's here for to talk about, and that's our latest episode of What If. So Marvel Zombies. I mean, once again, I've really enjoyed it. I've been really enjoying these What If episodes, and do you know what? I know that there's rumors that they're going to feed into the story, the overarching MCU wider. You know, they're going to feed in there to Doctor Strange, and there's an overarching story arc throughout them. They're all linked, etc., etc., etc. However, I've just been sitting down for half hour and just really enjoying just a little burst of something different. You don't have to think about how it connects with something else. You don't have to think, well, how did we get to this point? Like, who cares? Just watch what's in front of you and just have fun just for half hour. Just enjoy it. And that's exactly what I got probably more out of that feeling out of this episode than I have of any of the others, because this one really did feel like it was just something completely different, like not even on the same planet almost, you know. Thoughts?
Hank Pym strikes again.
Right in the neck, right in the neck. That little bite in the neck that he gave to Cap, weren't it? I think.
Yeah, it was interesting
yeah.
how they brought him trying to get Janet back out of the quantum realm is what kicked this off. So that was interesting the way they started.
Yeah, I really like that, because I was wondering how they were going to go down.
Yeah.
Where this zombies were going to come from, and I think that was quite a nice way of. It was almost realistic, dare I say? Do you know what I mean? It was like, oh, okay, I can see how that would have happened in the Marvel universe, you know?
The other thing, too, is I'm happy to see Hope Van Dyne kind of front and center for this episode, kind of reminiscent of the old school where Janet as I'm going blank on her name. But you know what I'm saying.
What? Who?
Wasp.
Yes,
Wasp?
Janet as Wasp kind of was kind of front and center in the old school days.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
kind of good to see Hope take front and center on as well.
Mm.
Sorry, I went blank there on Wasp. I don't know why.
But yeah, she because obviously in the old days in the comics, she led the Avengers, didn't
Yep,
she?
exactly.
For a time, and yeah, she was very commanding. But actually, I have felt that a little bit from Evangeline Lilly in the MCU as well. To be fair. There is that leadership quality in there, especially where she was very assertive, very sure of herself, very confident in the first Ant-Man movie. She wanted to wear the suit. It was just Hank wouldn't let her, but she was kind of running the whole operation, and she had that level of, like I say, confidence from the beginning. So hopefully we might see that going forward even.
Yeah, I do have a pet peeve though about her in this episode. She can shrink, she can go large. That suit works in the quantum realm. But a bite to her suit is what takes her down. That was kind of a lazy writing to me there.
Was it a bite to the suit, or was it the fact that she got cut and then she got guts all over herself? And then
she got cut, but still, you would think that suit would be a little more durable.
Yeah. I can see what you're saying. So before we get on, my little bee in the bonnet that I had, excuse the pun, was she knew she was going to die. Was that not so obvious that she was going to come back as giant wasp and trying as a zombie?
Why not shrink?
Exactly, and not tiny either, because that's
regular
probably
size,
more dangerous.
yeah,
regular size. Just go regular size, and that's fine. Like that's the least dangerous you can be.
Yep.
Not big and not tiny. So why didn't, as she was falling back, why didn't you go? I'm just going to go down to like regular size person. But we wouldn't have got her throwing a zombie at the Quinjet. So
that was great.
Hilarious. Which was hilarious. It was like, I think I said to somebody on the group, it was like Bad Cop from Lego Movie throwing the chair. He throws the chair and he gets young. Screw you! I'm going to throw something like a kid, weren't it?
Darn.
That's it. Yeah. Come on, Mark. What did you think, mate?
So I absolutely love this episode. Like, one of my favorite things about the What If series is how they take this original, or they take the original story and they tweak it just like one tiny little change, and it goes off into its own storyline. And it's always fun how each episode you're like, okay, they're introducing this character, how are they going to bring this from the original story, and where is it going to change to become what it's supposed to be? And so that's been really fun. I loved Ant-Man. Seriously, Scott Lang, Paul Rudd is absolutely fantastic.
He's a comedy timing genius.
Yes,
isn't he?
Yeah.
Just the way everything comes out of his mouth and when he speaks. I mean, the moment just coming away from What If at the moment, when he gets out of the van in Civil War, that little 2 minutes is just so beautifully done. It could be your mate down the road. That's how convincing he is. That's how convincing he is. Is that he goes, oh yeah, I know you too, and you're great.
You're great too.
Yeah, he's got this such awkwardness, but he's so natural with it. Paul Rudd as an actor is just beautiful, just so good. And yeah, I mean, to carry on that, to give you that same performance, A, as an animation, and B, as just a head, is quite impressive from an actor's point of view. So yeah, loved Paul Rudd, love Ant-Man.
I can see why they wanted to give him Employee of the Month when he filmed his stuff for What If.
Yeah, definitely. Carry on, Mark. Sorry.
Yeah, the interesting thing. So from the main zombies storyline, so all of the heroes have their powers still. They can still do their things, except there's certain things like Wolverine doesn't have his healing factor anymore. Hulk, once he eats, he turns back into Banner, and then once he gets hungry again, that's when he turns back into Hulk. Ant-Man is constantly changing size, or Hank Pym. And so I like the part where that they had T'Challa as kind of chopped up meat, uh, because that actually happens in the comics. That
wow.
yeah, that Hank has him hidden away from the other zombies so that he can kind of keep his sanity, but he's little by little eating pieces of T'Challa until T'Challa gets away.
Wow.
Wow.
Nice.
And
I've got to read it. I've got it, and I've been endeavoring to read it, but I haven't finished this Thor story yet. So I'm like, oh, I'm not going to read it yet. And then I really wanted to read it before coming and speaking to you today, but I just haven't had time. So it's good to hear some little tidbits from it. So I'm looking forward to getting stuck into that.
Yeah, and that one's fun, especially when Galactus comes in. Yeah,
I'm really interested now.
Yeah, I won't say anymore. One of the later ones, I think it's Marvel Zombies #4, introduces the Midnight Suns, or brings them back in, and the zombies have broken out of their zombie universe and are breaking into other people's universes, and so Morbius has been taken over by his zombie self, and they're trying to essentially, they're starting their own Church of the Hunger, and Kingpin is in charge of this and is trying to get them to start feeding on other universes and starting to, or get to infect all of the heroes of the other universes, which is really interesting.
So other than you said about the T'Challa, Hank Pym, eating him, and we had that contrast in the What If episode of T'Challa being kept by Vision to obviously feed Scarlet Witch, which isn't us. We'll get onto Scarlet Witch and Hulk in a minute. But was there any other crossovers that you noticed from the comics into the What If episode?
Yeah. So with Ant-Man as the head, in the comics, it's actually Janet, who's the one that she was cured, and she ends up having a robot body, but basically the only humans that are alive are a bunch of mutants that were on an asteroid, and so it's what's his name, Forge.
Oh yeah.
So Forge, and then T'Challa. They basically stay up there, and all the zombies leave for 40 years because they go try to eat everything else that's in the universe until they have finally eaten everything in the universe.
Okay. So
and then they come back at some point. But yeah, like, it's interesting that they find out that, like with Ant-Man, yes, he was cured in this, but once they haven't eaten for so long, it kind of goes away. The need to feast, and then they just become heroes, their normal selves.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, that's interesting. So obviously in the episode we saw them still have their kind of powers or a bit of understanding, but they weren't fully on it, or at least Hawkeye wasn't. I mean, how many times did he miss?
Yeah,
he missed Sharon at least twice, I think. And as we know of Hawkeye, he doesn't miss. So although he had the mental capacity to carry on shooting arrows and etc., he obviously wasn't still. He's super, like his self.
Yeah.
So I liked that. I like the fact that Cap was still using the shield, and Tony was still using the blasters, etc. But that they just weren't quite as finely tuned as they normally would be because they were dead.
I'm like, one thing with them showing Thanos at the end, I'm just like, I'm so excited for season 2 of What If.
Yeah, where's this going, and how did he get turned? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, how did he get turned if he already had that gauntlet?
Yep.
But
I like the whole
cape-
Infinity War angle too. They did with this, where it was Hulk falling like Infinity War into the Sanctum, and then Thanos with the mostly powered gauntlet. So
yeah, that was interesting. I liked the sort of when Bruce crawls out of the hole and he's like, "Oh, Thanos is coming." Wait a minute. There's nobody listening to me. What's going on? He sort of crawls out, what's going on here? And then the Ebony Moore and Carl Obsidian standing there and sort of talking, and all of a sudden they're gone, and he's like, "Wait a minute!" And what's going on? You know, I thought that was quite entertaining, actually. Yeah, and the cape.
Yep.
The cape's still doing its own thing.
I really enjoyed that. It kept its PG feel for Disney, but you could tell like the brutality of things at times. Like I loved when Wasp just enlarged inside of Sharon and just like splat. You're like, oh dang.
He's just standing there after. It's like, but see, that goes back to something that Feige said a little while ago, and he said that he doesn't feel like there's any story in the MCU that they can't tell that it has to be an R. Rated R.
Spider-Man episode. They pulled.
Yeah, but what did? But I mean, what is it? Is it the themes? Because I don't think it's the violence. Because violence can just be ensued, like Mark was just saying.
Well, the reason was it was too dark though for the series for this season. You know, potentially you might see it, but I'm just like, how can you say it's too dark? We literally saw Hope blow up Sharon, and we've seen Hank blow up Hulk, and we've seen all the key Avengers die. So
plus Falcon got cut in half in that episode.
Yeah,
you know, like.
But see, this is my point. See, and so now this is I'm going to talk as a parent now, and so my children are 15 and 11, both boys, normal kids really. But the way I look at it when I'm looking at a movie is it's not necessarily the violence that is the leading factor of whether I will let them watch something or not. And it's not even really the language, the swearing and things like that, but it's the themes and whether I feel like they will understand the themes to the movie. So, for example, something like Taken, do I want my 11-year-old to know that there is a human trafficking ring out there in regards to, you know, that kidnaps young females and gets them hooked on heroin and goes down that whole rabbit hole there? If you took that element out of that movie and left the same movie with the violence and the action and all of that, my 11-year-old would love it. He would love it. But does he need to see that thing? So it might not necessarily be the violence. It might not necessarily be that the action. It might be the theme itself. Now, I don't know what could have happened in Spider-Man, the Spider-Man theme. I really don't. Could it be something to do with death? The death of... I
think it's more of Parker actually turning into a spider. I thought it was.
Oh, was it?
Yes, I think if I remember correctly, I think that's what it was. But
right,
and I completely agree with what you're saying. But if you look at some of these episodes, like the whole thing with the key Avenger basically being taken out like that, you know, yes, I let my son watch it. He's 7. He's pretty much watched everything Marvel wise except for Deadpool movies. Yeah, but there's still some things this season that you could consider dark. Even the whole Doctor Strange episode, you can consider dark theme. You know, that's probably the darkest episode of the season so far was the Doctor Strange one.
100%. I couldn't agree. I couldn't agree more. I think that was far darker than anything that happened in this week's episode.
Yep.
Yeah, I think the Vision kind of like role reversal with Scarlet Witch, where, you know, he's kind of like trying to take care of her instead of her trying to take care of him, kind of type deal, and he's suffering from the grief of her and not wanting to let go of her. I think that was another dark theme. And I also kind of like think that point where in the episode he kind of like turns and looks and he's like, I have to redeem myself for what I've done. It's like, well, yeah, you know, you've been feeding people to her, but you know, like he's kind of like a machine. So he doesn't, I mean, he's like a synthetic person, but he's not really like really human. He's not really like fully robot. You know what I'm saying? He's kind of like in between. So I don't know. I thought that was a really kind of like dark point in the episode too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and going and thinking about that as well, though, Alex, as well. Just looking at WandaVision, just looking at that whole show, as shiny and as fluffy and as fun as that seemed, that was horrific. Actually, you was just watching one woman's nervous breakdown.
Yeah.
Yep.
But just put across in this kind of funny, quirky kind of way. And actually, if you strip a few layers back, you're just watching a nervous breakdown. So there's my point is there again. It's not necessarily what you're seeing. It's
how it can impact you.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So maybe I don't know about the Spider-Man episode. Maybe it was the way he turned into a spider. I don't really know. But even going back to what I was saying about Feige when he said about the rated R thing, I don't know what makes something R-rated. I guess sexual scenes, drug abuse, really graphic violence. I don't know.
Explicit content, because Deadpool fits all that.
Yeah. I'm like, I think R-rated movies are allowed like a max of 2 F words, and if you get more than that, then it's R. But I just watched the movie Old the other day at the theater.
You said that's good. You said that's good, didn't you? I want to see that.
Yeah, and there's a lot of stuff in it that could very much make it R, but the camera angles, like the way that the camera pans away from it, so you're still like hearing things or like you're seeing the reactions of the other people, but you're not actually seeing what happened. And so I feel like the way with cinematography, you could do anything to still make it seem that dark or scary or whatever, and not have to make it R.
Sure.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I totally agree. So along those lines, bit of an analogy. I love an analogy. So if you look at a crime, so like an attack, one person attacks another person. So one person attacks another person, punches him. It's a little bit of a what if, actually, I guess. So say I punched Alex and Alex fell over and he fell on the floor and he had a black eye. Yeah, I could get arrested for, aggravated assault or whatever it might be. But if I punched Alex and he fell over and he banged his head and he died, it's the same punch, the same person, same 2 people, but now I'm getting arrested for manslaughter. The action is the same, but the outcome, it changes what happens afterwards. So that's similar to what you was just saying, Mark, where the actual thing that's happened is the same thing. It's just the focus is slightly different, which changes actually the outcome of that scene. Is that now is it acceptable or is it not acceptable in regards to the rating? So, but going back to JArian, what you were saying about Deadpool. Now, I would be much more inclined to let my 11-year-old watch. Well, actually, he's seen the second one. I don't think he's seen the first one. I don't think he's seen the first Deadpool, but I'd be much more inclined to let him watch that the way that is than I would let him watch other movies that probably aren't R-rated, or over here it's 18, but that aren't R-rated, that have got different themes, like Taken, for example. I think I don't know what that is, maybe PG-13 over there for you. I think it might be a 12 here for us. I'm not entirely sure about looking it up, but that's in my eyes, that's far darker and got far more explicit content in it, in my opinion, than Deadpool. Deadpool's just fun. Yeah, okay, he's rude. Yeah, okay, he swears a lot. Yeah, okay, there's lots of violence, but it's clearly fake. It's clearly silly. It's not. It's watch Taken. It's like, wow, does that really happen? You're like, well,
true.
Actually, it does really happen. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, but then that's an individual thing. I'm probably going to get arrested now. Somebody says, you're letting your 11-year-old son watch Deadpool. I'm going to get in trouble. Everyone's going to turn off. But yeah, but back to Marvel Zombies. I agree with what you were saying, Mark. The way that they managed to still make it really graphic without going too far. Like not going too far. They didn't have to go too far.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, any other thoughts on Marvel Zombies? Anybody? Oh, I've got one, but anybody?
I got one.
Go on.
So remember in Infinity War when Thanos tells Stark all that for a drop of blood? I wonder if that's how Thanos got turned.
Ah.
So about
Yeah,
that?
but yeah. So what? Stark fights
On Titan, that
Stark
whole
fights
Thanos, and then he cuts him, and then Thanos goes all that for a drop of blood. I wonder if that's how Thanos got infected.
That's cool. I'd like to. It's almost like the season 2. It'd be great to see sequels of what's happened in season 1, wouldn't it? Rather than just completely separate stories. It'd be nice to actually tie some bits in.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then we also saw another tie back to Parker's uncle, Ben Parker, in this episode. So there was that throwback, and then just the whole video with Parker and zombies. I like that as well.
Yeah, Happy Hogan.
Bucky in the shower.
Yes.
Yeah, Happy was fun as well. The Parker video, that was great. That was Zombieland-esque.
Yep.
When he goes through his rules, double tap and run cardio and seatbelts and all of that stuff. Yeah.
There was one thing about the episode that I thought about, and I could very well be wrong about this, but it's the part where Vision talks about how the zombies don't come around the Mind Stone.
Yep.
Like they're worried about it. They don't come.
Yeah.
It's the proximity. They don't come in a certain range. Then the episode ends and it's got Thanos with 5 of the stones or whatever in the Infinity Gauntlet. And I'm like, is it going to be the same thing with that? Is that just, I know it's kind of a weird comment to make, but that was where my brain went right off the bat.
Maybe
That
it's
one's
unique to the Mind Stone.
opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like the humans don't go near Thanos.
Yeah.
Yeah, or maybe he's controlling them all.
Yeah, or I think it's just unique to the Mind Stone properties, probably the way it was. The other thing too is the whole Hulk angle. We kind of got some different closure to Hulk not wanting to show up in Infinity War, to where Hulk actually protected Banner when he got bit, and then finally he came out to help them get away and to fight Scarlet Witch and the other zombies.
And that was my point. I would have loved to have seen more Hulk versus Scarlet Witch. I was just getting excited for it, and then they kind of flew off, and I went, "Oh wait a minute! I wanted to go and watch that." That looked like it could have been a really cool fight. But yes, okay. As Stan Lee has said, who wins in a fight between X and Y? Well, whoever the writer wants. Yeah, okay, I get that. But who wins in a fight between Hulk and Scarlet Witch?
I would say, that's so crazy. I mean, unless she picks him up and throws him into space or something, it's like, what else do you do there with that's an epic fight,
we saw her in Age of Ultron where she got in his head. Can she get into Hulk's head as he's Hulk, or does it have to be Banner for her to get in his head? So there's that angle.
Yeah, and obviously she was so in regards to strength. I mean, I know that. I don't know in regards to the MCU, but obviously in the comics, Hulk's strength, its height is far beyond Thanos. But obviously, what we saw Scarlet Witch do to a gauntletless Thanos in Endgame, she was about to crush him, basically.
I don't even know who you are.
Yeah, you will. That was, do you know what? That was such a, just thinking about that comment, right? I've always said that, when somebody says, you might be having an altercation with somebody or something, and they go, "Do you know who I am?" And you're like, well, for saying that, you're probably a dick. And that was a little bit like Thanos. I don't even know who you are. I don't care about you. I don't even know who you are. Scarlet Witch was like, well, you're gonna, so we're just gonna rip you apart. But I thought that was a typical arrogant thing to say from Thanos. I don't even know who you are. Like, why am I bothered about you? Shoo. But and then Scarlet Witch was like, right, okay, I'm gonna sort you out. But I mean, based on that fight, could she use the same sort of tactics? I know she was zombified, but it would have been interesting to see more of that. I would have liked to have seen more of Scarlet Witch versus Hulk. But yeah, and then back to the zombie throwing incident. I thought that was fantastic. I absolutely loved that. I thought that was hilarious. And And a nice callback. I saw JArian your post on the go on. I'll let you say it.
Yeah, the Civil War, when Ant-Man was as Giant Man was holding Rhodey, and Stark's like, "Give back my Rhodey." Well, or Hope was holding the plane like that, and they kind of got away. So it was good to see, and I hope we see something in season 2 because we don't know what happened to Bucky. He got tossed, but we don't know what happened to him, and Hulk is still there. So, but more powerful impact by T'Challa, Chadwick Boseman in the episode as well.
Hopefully, the Guardians will show up at some point.
Yep.
And not be zombies.
Yep.
Yeah.
So go on, Alex. Go on.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I also kind of like the whole idea of the Wasp actually being big for once. You know, you see her shrink, but I don't think we've ever seen her like grow in size at all in the MCU. So like that was kind of like a nice alternate for her to see her actually be like, you know, giant woman or whatever, you know. So but yeah.
No, very cool. Very cool. So any more thoughts on that particular episode? No. Okay.
Interesting though that Wakanda with the shield was the last stronghold.
Yeah. That'd be I mean, not a surprise though. Interesting, but not a surprise.
Yep.
As T'Challa knew, you know, there was only going to be one place that was still protected, and that's going to be it. So just quickly then, what do we think is going to be this week's episode?
Let's go back to our trusty, because this one was actually wrong. This one was supposed to be Party Thor according to that graphic.
So, I'm thinking it's probably going to be Gamora.
Gamora, daughter of Thanos.
Let me find that graphic.
Well, have we got 4 left?
Yes, we have 6. Yep, we have 4. We have 6, 7, 8, and 9. Yep, so 4 left.
And the last one is supposed to be Ultron.
Yep, Ultron, Vision, Infinity Stones, and Guardians of the Multiverse. So
I'm most excited to see Ultron.
Me
with the
too.
Infinity Gauntlet.
Yeah.
So that graphic we discussed before, episode 5 was supposed to be Party Thor, and episode 7 was supposed to be Zombies. So I wonder if those get flipped now. And episode
6 on the list?
Killmonger and Tony.
Oh yeah.
And then episode 8 is Tony and Sakaar, according to that graphic. But right now we have the one thing out of order right now.
Okay. I'm really looking forward to the Killmonger one, purely for the fact of what we've spoken to before, alluded to before, guys, about are they trying to turn the cogs on how we feel about Eric Killmonger for a potential redemption arc. But yeah, I'd like to see that. Which also
leads me to that lineup that we saw in the teaser trailer of the Guardians of the Multiverse. We do see T'Challa Star-Lord, and we see Black Panther. And is that going to be Killmonger or T'Challa Black Panther? Who's that champion from the multiverse? I'm thinking it might be Killmonger Black Panther in that scene.
Yeah, I reckon you might be right.
Because there's that one preview of him riding rhinos in Wakanda. So
yeah, interesting. That would be good to see. I think that's been a really cool episode there, guys. We've had a really good chat about loads of different subjects. Hopefully we've put some nice, interesting content out there for the people to deliberate. It's been good having you on, Mark.
Yeah. Once again, thank you so much for having me on. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, Mark.
Yeah, thanks for coming. More than welcome. I mean, you know, great member on the page, and always putting in great comments, good posts on our quizzes as well. And for you and everybody else that's listening, we are actually working on our next quiz. It probably won't be to the end of September, maybe even the beginning of October, because it's a phase 3 quiz and it's a big phase.
Oh, the biggest one.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, so there's lots of things to go through, but we're working on it. So that'll be coming soon.
Am I a player or a captain for this next quiz?
I don't know. It depends. If you want to be a captain again, we can do it, but we might get somebody new in if you want to play.
I don't know. Do I want to go for the hat trick?
Oh, don't start.
I was like, if JArian doesn't, I'll throw my hat in as a captain.
Hello. Nice. All right. Okay. You're the reserve. If JArian wants to go for the hat trick, he can.
I'll think on it.
All right. Yeah. Okay. I think whether I want to come back or not, maybe I don't. No. Okay, guys. Look, it's been a pleasure. Mark, thank you very much for coming on. Alex, JArian, as always, it's awesome to chat with fellow nerds about Marvel and MCU stuff. Thank you everybody for listening. Remember, you can catch us on our Facebook group, which has actually been recently renamed, just to help people understand exactly what we are rather than just being letters. So it's MCU D&T plus a Marvel fan group. If you want to be searching for that, we are on Twitter as well. Don't ask me the tags; I don't actually know, but we are there. Come onto the Facebook page, and the banner tells you what to search for. But we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram. Yeah, obviously you can catch us if you want to watch us. If you want to see our handsome faces, you can go onto YouTube. If you're listening, we're not just on Apple, iTunes. We're on everywhere: Amazon, Google, Deezer, Podchaser, all of them. All right, so get out there.
Everyone wants to see your handsome face, Andy.
Thank you, Mark. What I was doing, if anybody's looking, I can stand kind of here, and it looks like
I've got
nice long Thor's hair. So anyway, but no, thank you for listening, guys. We'll catch you next week with another episode. Take care.
Why don't you tell them about the time